Welcome to Dirty Mind, the podcast that goes straight from the mind of a pig named Dirt into your mind. Unless, of course, you're bypassing your brain today, you're only using your ears, and it's just sort of floating around your skull, just bouncing back and forth like a ping pong on a basement floor when it's 2 a.m. and everyone else is asleep. And if that's the case, hey, that's fine, Let it just flow in and then flow out, and don't even let it bother you. But if you do let this podcast soak into your brain like something that soaks into something else, then bueno. We have a real kinetic, there it is, kinetic start to our relationship. And there's also a very good chance that this is not the first time you've ever heard my voice. So if that's the case, that's pretty cool. Welcome back. And I hope that everything that happened since the last time I spoke to you and you received my words, everything has been great. And if it hasn't, then I hope this improves it, because we're going to talk about some good stuff, some things that are going to make you think about life, and some other things that are going to make you say, I never thought about it that way, but I'm glad I didn't before, and I wish I hadn't now. So, before we get into the nitty-gritty of what today's topic is going to be, it's time for everyone's favorite segment, except for mine, Old News.
I got nothing new for you.
Today's old news story is No Man's Sky. It's a video game, and it just came out just now, just recently, like the other day maybe. It's out, and people are furious. What a disappointment. Oh my gracious. Where do I even begin? Let me see. Let me get my paperwork. Just kidding. I don't have paperwork. What am I, a Neanderthal? People are furious. The graphics are wacky, the exploration is lacking, and plenty of men have claimed to own the sky. So just the name is false advertising. So I don't know what we're going to do about this as a community, as gamers, in general, as a community. Did I already say community? Okay, well, now I've said it 3 times, so I guess that's probably going to turn on the TV pretty soon. Just like Beetlejuice, every time you say, like, The Office, The Office, The Office. There it is. Oh, yep, it's the dinner party episode. So, No Man's Sky, goodness gracious, come on, Hello Games. Big promises, and look at this delivery. It's like someone from FedEx took your package and said, I know it was supposed to be delivered today, between 6 and 8. I'm going to go ahead and wait until tomorrow. I'm also going to put it in the back of my pickup truck while it's raining. And then I think I'll use it as a table while I eat my peanut butter and fluff. Yeah. That's what they did. That's what they did with this game. I don't see it being redeemed anytime soon. I mean, if they were content with releasing it in this state, oh, gracious, we are in for some real troubling developments in the future. I highly doubt it's going to be updated. It's certainly not going to continuously be updated over the next decade with big updates like free updates, free DLC constantly every year, multiple updates per year, even adding VR support for free. I don't see that happening. It's going to be, here's my prediction. It's going to be one of those games where you look back and you're like, oh yeah, remember how excited we were for that game and how it was so terrible when it came out and nothing could happen to improve upon it? That's going to be the situation. Just like, let's see, what was another game that was super disappointing? I can't think of any because they all have been really good. As soon as they come out, it's like, yeah, they took the right amount of time to put this into development before they released it. So I can't really compare it to anything. It's a bit of an anomaly. So, yeah, No Man's Sky, it's out. Don't waste your money. They're not going to update it. So, sorry to say. What you can get instead is, I'd say, Assassin's Creed Black Flag. I know it's a few years old, but that's still worth it. Yeah, go for that instead. Thank you. Welcome back. So the topic of today is snowboarding. I know what you're thinking. There's no way I'm going to be able to follow all of your super technical snowboarding knowledge because you are, as everyone knows, a snowboarding master. Now, you have a reason to be a little suspicious and a little bit nervous, but don't worry, don't dwell on that. I'm going to sort of dumb it down a little bit. I'm not going to get too technical with the snowboarding lingo. I'm going to use normal words that everyone knows, like carve and shred and snow. So, yeah, it's going to be pretty easy to understand what I'm talking about. So the big reason I wanted to talk about this is because I played shredders for the first time very recently. I used real money to purchase this game. It was on sale, I have to say, because I don't remember the last time I bought a game that wasn't on sale. I'm just thrifty like that. But I am very glad that I purchased it. I'm also glad that I waited for a sale because I think it's $30 and I got it for less than $30, and that's always nice. Only it was like 20 or something maybe. But a deal's a deal, Shake on it. Shake, sit, boo-boo, sit. Good dog. Anywho, when I experienced shredders for the first time, I didn't really know what to expect. When I was watching gameplay, I was thinking, this looks real smooth. Like, the graphics are good, but it was more about the animations and how free-flowing it was. And it didn't seem like there was really many predetermined animations. It was all just dynamic and everything flowed together and went into the next thing organically. It was great. But I heard it wasn't exactly the easiest game in the world to play. Comparing shredders to Steep, I'd say Steep is a tiny bit more arcadey, and then shredders, it's if this is probably not the best comparison, but if you look at Tony Hawk Pro Skater versus Skate 1, 2, and 3, that's the difference between Steep and shredders. So shredders, you got the wick and flick and flap and whap and slap. Yeah, so you got it's a controller only. You can just throw your keyboard and mouse straight out the window until they land on a gazelle. You're not going to need those. You can't even use them. There's no way to try. So come on, you need to drop it, all right? You're not going to get to use the keyboard and mouse. Just put it out of your mind. You keep bringing up the keyboard and the mouse, and we're just going to keep having to go over this until I don't want to smack this sleeping horse consistently. Just drop the subject. You're not going to be able to use the keyboard and mouse. Stop talking about it, okay? So you can only use a controller, and I think that's probably for the better. I can't really imagine doing it any other way because a lot of it is you have to be able to move the stick, the right or left stick around. It's not just about going in one direction, like go to the right 90 degrees or 45 degrees or 0 degrees or negative 45 or negative 90 or 270 or 331 or 208 or 104. There's a lot of options, but it's not about hitting any of those necessarily. It's about having that dynamic movement. So you hold, for me, I use a DualShock 4? 2? DualShock 1? What is the DualShock? They came out with a DualShock. Hold on. Let's figure this out. They came out with the DualShock, I think in the PS3 era, because it was the 6-axis controller first, and then the DualShock, unless the DualShock was PS2, and then it was the DualShock 2 or DualShock 3, and now it's the DualShock 4 for PlayStation 4? Or no, yeah, it was like the Sixth Sense? DualSense. DualSense is PS5. I don't have a PS5. DualShock 4? Anyway, I use a PlayStation 4 controller, And I have that sometimes wireless. That's pretty nice. But you hold R2 when you want to jump, and then you do a little flick. So if you want to do a front flip, it's the left stick down, and then as you're releasing R2 at the top of the ramp, then you throw the left stick forward. So it's a similar flick the way skate. Like I played the heck out of Skate 2. You would use the little flick, whoop, whoop, and then do an ollie. And that's pretty cool. I like that because it doesn't feel like you're doing a little button mashings. It feels like a pretty smooth transition between actually doing it in real life and doing it just like little inputs on the keyboard. But once again, you're not going to use the keyboard for this game, okay? I don't know what. I really don't know why we're talking about keyboards when they're not involved in the conversation at all. No one said a thing about keyboards. No one brought up the keyboards. No one mentioned keyboards. No one knows what keyboards are. Like, take a few minutes to describe to me what a keyboard is. You can't. You don't have the verbiage. You don't have the descriptive powers. It's not happening. Let it go. So it feels pretty natural the way that it communicates with your snowboarder. I was thinking for a second, I wonder why they didn't have skiing. And then I remembered it's because there's two. A snowboard, there's only one. But the skis, you got one per foot. That just can't happen. How can you do that? No one has ever been able to make that into a video game, so I don't know why they would start now. And the way that you can communicate with your snowboarder, little person boy, is pretty natural. It does take a while for your brain to fill in the blanks, and it took me a week or two just to understand all of the possibilities, let alone the intricate details of each possibility. So you can butter. That's probably getting too technical. You can margarine, and there's other ways you can do little hops or move your board without hopping, do grabs, do spins, do like a backflip facing forward versus a backflip facing 90 degrees left or right. It's great. I would definitely recommend if you've seen the gameplay of it and you're like, hey, that's a video game. I would recommend looking into it. Now, for the topic of what the topic is, a big question is, how does that differ from real life? Well, I'll talk about that since you asked. So I have a hill in my backyard. At first, when I was looking at that hill, I didn't think much of it. When oh goodness, how long ago was this? Oh, it was so long ago. It was so long ago. Get this, ready? It was so long ago that I had a mask, like what KN95, is that what they're called? A KN95 mask in my coat at all times. That's how long ago it was. So anyway, I saw that hill and I didn't think much of it other than it's going to stink to try and bring a wheelbarrow down there or a lawnmower. And I bet the deer are going to just love this hill because if there's anything I know about deer is that they love running up and down hills like Rocky in that movie, Rocky. But the thing that I didn't think about was that it was going to be a great hill during the winter times. Because winter times, for those unaware, brings precipitation that is not liquid. It's halfway between liquid and solid and also gas at the same time. So it's like if you took a Frosty and you put it through a fan and mystified it. Yeah, so it's called snow. Anyway, that covers the landscape. And this hill that I got in the backyard, it's a pretty good steepness. And the angle of it is just right. It's just long enough where it's like, yeah, this is fun, but it's not dangerous, really. Granted, there are a good amount of tree roots, but hey, that just means I don't have to build any ramps. I got some organic ramps just built in built in under the dirt. I love it. A nice little surprise. And if I fall down and land on it, even better surprise. And it makes for a great story when I go to the ER. So this hill, when I'm snowboarding down it, it provides an ample amount of space for me to do just a little bit of carving. But I'll tell you, angling your board and trying to turn, especially like a good amount, like more than 5 degrees, that's pretty tough. I'm a little more confident turning on skis than I am on the snowboard, but neither are super easy. So I think what they captured in Shredders, I can't speak to steep. I haven't played it. What do you want from me? I haven't played it. I can't speak to steep. You want me to speak to steep? I'll have to play steep. I'll have to investigate steep on Steam. But right now I don't have steep on Steam. I have Shredders on Steam, so I can talk about Shredders. Yeah, I can shred. No, wait, shred is guitar. There's a pun in there somewhere. I can shrek shredders, because shrek means to describe something elaborately with a lot of emphasis on enunciation. I can shrek shredders. Anyway, so what Shredders did was they made it so it's really not that easy to turn. I mean, you definitely can, easier than in real life. But you'll find if you're going downhill, you're going super fast, and you're like, wait a minute, I don't want to go down this ramp. I want to go over to the other ramp that looks cooler because someone painted in it a bunch of yellow lines. It looks so enticing. It's going to be a little difficult to maneuver at the last second when you're going real fast. So you have to use the right stick to go whoosh or whoosh, and sort of slow yourself down, and then it's a little easier to turn. And that's what I like, not making it too easy. It's very easy in video games to make something easy. It's really easy to make something easy, and I don't really fault anyone for making easy things easy, but when you make hard things easy, then it takes away some of what's so important about those things, because if things are difficult, then they're worth doing, and if things are easy, then they're not worth doing. That's why eating ice cream is not worth doing, because it's too easy, because you just open the carton and shove your face in until there's nothing left. It's too easy. It's not worth it. I think this is a good time to have a little visit from a trusted sponsor that we've never trusted before. Check it out. If you're anything like me, one of the most difficult times that you have is when you have a hat and the brim is just not quite right. Introducing the Hat Bender 4000. It's the 4,000th time we've tried to introduce this product, and I guarantee this time is going to be the time that it finally succeeds and it leaves its mark on the market. The Hat Bender 4000 is it's a compact machine. It's about the size of a 10-month-old baby elephant, and it's used to automatically adjust the brim of your hat. So a lot of hats, as we know, are a wee bit stubborn. And what this machine does is it takes the brim and it tweaks it. So if let's say it has a nice gentle curve and it's like around, let's say it's like a 9-degree curve. This machine can take that and change it to an 8-degree curve. So it's not going to flatten it. You're not going to be able to flatten your brim, but you can get it close to flatter. It's also worth noting it doesn't go the other way. It only squeezes it a little bit, so it can't bend it outward. It just bends it inward. So I guess, hat bender is probably not the best word, because it's not really bending it, it's squeezing it and flattening it. But I already bought the domain and everything. So we're going to stick with it, Hatbender 4000. But the premise remains the same. You're taking the shape of the brim of your hat and you're still bending it. It's just in an opposite direction. Yeah, you're bending it. And the benefits of this there's almost too many to count. So you can use it to change the style of your hat. If we have one of those baseball hats versus one of those fishing hats, there's different styles of hats. Safari hats, Peaky Blinders hats with a nice surprise. So some have more of a bend to them, some more of a flat. And so what you can do is you can take something that is not flat but it has a bend and limit the bend. That's what the Hatbender 4000 is all about. So give it a try today. It's pretty inexpensive. I was told I shouldn't say what the price is, so I'll leave that up to your imagination. Hatbender 4000, try it out today. It's illegal in a lot of countries, but you should be fine. Just, keep trying. You might need a VPN. You'll find it, you'll get it, you won't be disappointed. It's not a guarantee, but yeah, I think that's what's going to happen. So try it out. We've gone through so many iterations. Please make this worth it for me. Welcome back. So let's keep talking about snowboarding as if we didn't just hear the greatest deal of our lives. I can't wait to get my Hatbender 4000. All right, okay, here we go. So snowboarding in real life versus video games. Shredders specifically, and my life specifically. But I think it's pretty universal, these topics. So another issue that I have when snowboarding is jumping. Now, I haven't gone off many jumps, specifically like ramps and inclined ramps and small ramps and medium-sized ramps. I haven't really gone off many ramps. So I don't have a tremendous amount of experience in that realm. However, what I do have experience in is trying to do a little bunny hop, if that makes sense, not on a bicycle. And that is difficult. It's not just difficult, it's scary because you need to jump off of the ground while having this really large, essentially, plank of wood that's probably not made out of wood. I don't know what they're made out of. Who cares? And you're trying to take it with you, even though it's a lot heavier than just using your feet. And you probably also have boots that weigh a lot, as much as, let's see, like a quarter of a baby seal, give or take. And that's more difficult than just jumping on normal ground during the summer by a little bit. And so when I'm doing that, and I'm also careening down a hill at, I want to say 48 miles per hour, that's a pretty difficult task. It's a difficult task. It's a difficult ask. So when it comes to shredders, when you're doing that in real life, you can definitely jump while you're just doing nothing, but you never really jump all that high. And you can be going down a hill, going down a ramp, and you can jump. And once again, it's not that high, but you can jump. And I think that's fairly accurate, at least if you're looking at someone who's super athletic. Yeah, I can believe that. And then once you go off a big ramp, a real big hill, just curtailing and zoop and zip, and Mary Poppins, then you can get some real air. You can also change the gravity. They changed that recently. You can change the gravity jump height, so that's cool. But I think it is somewhat realistic. The only thing about shredders that gets me thinking, I don't know about that, is some of the speed at which you move. So the slowness of some things is kind of odd. Like you hang in the air for a little bit longer, even on default gravity, and you can hop from, let's say you're on a railing, and then you hop over to the roof of a log cabin. and you can just sort of sit there for a while, and your balance is impeccable. I don't know about that. It seems like you had to have some of those balloons from the movie Up attached to your belt, and that's why you're hanging on so easily. Also, when you are grinding on a rail, you can just sort of be sticking off to the side, and only around 3 inches of the end of your board is actually touching the rail, and yet you're perfectly perpendicular to the rail, or parallel to the ground, perpendicular to the trees that are very far away, and you're okay, and you just keep on moving like that. So they've been updating it, so they'll probably have some improvements there. But that's what I like about like Tony Hawk, where you have to really balance it out. And if you're too far to the right, you're going to fall. If you're too far to the left, you're also going to fall, but upwards, I think. Yeah. And so, there's little things here and there where you're just like, I don't know. Wait a second. Oh, golly, is that a capybara? Oh, then that capybara's also on a snowboard. Oh, wait a second, that's not a snowboard, that's a very large banana peel. Capybara, look out. Oh, you're slipping. Oh, no. Oh, he's in the atmosphere now. Oh, he was an astronaut. Oh my, he's not an astronaut, he's an asteroid. What a twist. Oh, he's exploding. Oh, no, capybara, why'd you do that? Why didn't you stay on Earth? We could have cuddled all night long. And every time that happens, it sort of gets you thinking about what's really important in life. And sometimes it's just chilling with a game like Shredders, and sometimes it's going out and snowboarding for real. Now, occasionally, you're going to want to do these things, but you don't have the motivation. But if you do them anyway, that's when you'll get motivation. So just think about it like that. Just do it anyway, even though you don't want to. Other reasons for doing things is just to get out and put yourself at risk for bodily harm. Because if you're not at risk for bodily harm, then there's a good chance that you're not going to have bodily harm. Or if you do have bodily harm, it'll be a really dumb story. And that happens to me. That happened to Flower. Let me tell you about this thing that happened to Flower without asking her permission to tell you about it. So she stubbed her foot. What does she have? She has like little webbed feet. I don't know what penguins. What are they called? They're not bills. Bills are on the face. Little webbed feet. I don't know. She stubbed it on the corner of a bed frame while she was just rushing around to try and get her water bottle, and she had a gigantic bruise for weeks. And it's like, okay, yeah, that kind of stinks. But also, if she was going to have to get an injury like that to balance out the karma or whatever, balance out the waves of the universe, wouldn't you want that story to be a little bit more imaginative? Like, what could have happened is she could have walked into let's say a Burlington coat factory. I think they just call it Burlington now, but they got a nice heart-shaped logo, so I'll take that. You walk into a Burlington coat factory, and some child is climbing up on the shelves where they keep all of this stuff that's super on sale, and the whole shelf falls down, and then Flower just kicks into gear. She grabs the one of those racks where they keep coats, and then she throws it underneath, and it hits the child. She wasn't meaning for that to happen, but it hits the child. The child goes flying, and it does prop up it props up the shelf, and it's like, oh, okay, well, not too much damage was caused. The child went through the drywall. Thankfully, there was like no studs. There's like one stud every 7 feet, which is definitely not up to code, but it made for a much better landing situation. He landed on coats on the other side of the wall because there's so many coats. They just it's kind of a fire hazard. There's a ton of coats, and they're coats like some you can suspect. Okay, maybe they're gonna refurbish that. They're gonna wash it. Someone's gonna take it home and wash it with a pair of jeans, and then it's gonna be fine, and then they'll sell it again. But some is like, no. Not only is that 7 years out of season, it's also like the smallest coat you can imagine, and no child is going to wear leopard print. No child is going to do that. It's just not happening. They have their dignity, and so do I. And there's just so many coats. And you think for a second, okay, maybe they should just offer it up to the community. Like say, hey, free coats. We got a big old room full of coats nobody wants. And just come on by. Come on down. Like Wheel of Fortune. But I would say I'm glad they don't, because some of those coats are awful. They don't insulate at all. They have little holes in them. So you're going to end up being colder because they have sort of this reverse thermos technology. So you're going to be colder than the outside air. It's proven. It's proven by provers. And there's just too many coats in there. But wouldn't that be a much better story to get injured? I don't know how she got injured from that, now that I'm thinking about it. Oh, right. When she was moving the rack of the coats, it ran over her foot. So she kind of did it to herself, but it was in the heat of the moment to save a child. I guess not really to save the child. It was to save the bookshelf from falling down. And all the items on that side of the shelf fell off anyway and broke. But the bookshelf itself was okay. It was salvageable. But that's a much better story than just running into a bed frame looking for your water bottle. And the funny thing was, it wasn't even in that room. She walked in, smushed her feet, and the water bottle wasn't even in that room. Like, come on, Flower. I mean, I've done the same thing 4 times, but it's neither here nor there. What were we talking about? Snowboarding. So, I have gone down a large hill, like a large hill, where it's mostly sledding on tubes, toboggans, pieces of plastic that folks have brought just from their recycle bin. There's a lot of options, And this was a large hill, and I think I fell down maybe twice out of 15 runs down the hill. And that's a pretty good ratio. But I think with a little less powder and a little more, packed down snow, it's easier to turn. So that's interesting to think about. It's easier to turn, but oh man, I don't think I would have tried out a jump because you're careening down so quick. That's not for me. I'm not detaching myself from Mother Earth. I don't trust like that with the snowboard, because I feel like if it just hit a root at just the right angle, it would shatter and I would be done for. There's no hope. Don't even call the police. Don't call the ambulance. Just bury me right there. Bury me in the snow. Yeah. Video games are fun, though. All right, we're sort of nearing the end of our time here, even though our time is unlimited, really. We can do what we want. This is America. But I'm really excited about today's lucky color, so let's talk about today's lucky color. Today's lucky color is seaweed brains. Oh, what a fun one. Seaweed brains. 2 words. The hex code is D4FFBD. Seaweed brains. It's a nice, soft, bright mint green. It's nice. I like it. I'm a fan of it. I think seaweed brains is not the first descriptive phrase I would have thought of. in terms of describing it. Sorry, I had about 6 bowls of lasagna earlier. But what I do like about it is it's the type of color that you would usually see as an accent for something, and yet here it is taking over the main stage. It's got its own, here's got its own spotlight. Here it is. It's taken over. It's just the king of the castle. And I'm really proud of it, you know. I feel like it's been around a while. It's paid its dues, and it's finally making things happen. I'm really proud of it. So good for you, Seaweed Brains. Good for everyone. Good for the family. Good for the state of Connecticut, I imagine. Seaweed Brains, maybe use it sometime if you're a graphic designer. Just work it in somehow, some way, somewhere, somehow. Seaweed Brains. There we are. Well, this has been a lot of fun. I hope you learned something. I hope this was relaxing enough that you could do it without increasing your anxiety about having to live on this planet. That would be good. That's what makes me happy. And if it hasn't, if it's actually increased your amount of anxiety, well, that's unfortunate, but I can see where that would happen since we did talk about some pretty high-stakes, extreme sportings. So, yeah, I get it. But thank you for being here, and remember, it does take starting something to gain motivation to finish something. So remember that. If you want to do something, but you feel like you don't have the motivation to do that something, you just got to sort of trick your brain into doing it, just starting it, and you have, in my case, you have about 90 seconds where you have to maintain it. Just keep doing those dishes for 90 seconds, and eventually you'll just go into autopilot and you'll finish those dishes. And there's like a 1 in 7 chance that you'll just get angry and you'll throw the dishes through the window. And only the heavy ones, too. It's not like you have a reusable plastic spoon. No. Those ones you're going to forget about. You're going to grab the largest pot, and you're going to throw that through the window. And it will shatter. It's stainless steel. It will shatter. And then you'll go back for, the cast iron pan, and that's going to do some real damage. Whether it goes through the window or not, if it misses, hits the wall, you're going to have to repair that entire section. Let me tell you. But that's only a 1 in 7 chance. You'll be fine. I'll be fine. We're all going to be fine. Even if we're not going to be fine, we'll still be fine. Thank you so much. You're the light in my life. And keep being adorable. Okay? Kisses.